G'day YouTubers. I've had a few people now ask about some more information on overnighting on the boat or camping around some of the islands in Moreton Bay. I thought I'd do a video just covering everything you could do in Moreton Bay, all the different spots you could go, and as soon as I started it I realised that was going to be hours long. So I'm breaking it up into separate little segments. First segment's going to be on Peel Island, which is one of my favourite spots to overnight in the bay if you're just going out boating. Peel is located in the southern part of Moreton Bay, in between Cleveland Point and the township of Dunwich on North Stradbroke Island. I generally regard Peel as the southernmost island where you can find a really good sand beach, and the northernmost island where you can find some really good shelter from winds from any direction. Well, this is Horseshoe Bay on a good day and a Friday when everyone should be at work. As you can see, there's still a lot of people out here. One of the really popular spots on the bay, as long as the wind's right for it. The best ramps for going to Peel are either the Victoria Point ramps, there's two of them, or the Cleveland ramp. These days I prefer the Cleveland ramp, but going back a few years I used to operate out of Victoria Point quite a lot. Regardless of which one of those two you choose, the trip's going to take about 20 minutes to get to the middle of Horseshoe Bay. If you're leaving from the Manly Boat Harbour, then you can expect a longer trip. That one's going to take close to 40 minutes. Wellington Point isn't a ramp that I like to use, but if you do like it, the trip to Peel will take you about 30 minutes, maybe a little under. When you arrive, most days you'll find some exceptionally clear water and some great sandy beach, although you do have to watch which tides you're working with. The only time I've known Peel to be really murky is after storms when all the bay's stirred up and there's a lot of silt and mud in the water. Looking at the aerial photo, I'm not quite sure where they get the horseshoe name from. It doesn't look much like a horseshoe to me, but I guess there's a bit of poetic license involved. Now, one thing about Peel is the beach slopes off very sharply to about 6 feet, 5 or 6 feet of water, and then it goes out a long way at that level before it shelves down again. So you have to be very careful where you anchor. I've marked the area where it's best to anchor, somewhere in that vicinity, to make sure you've got plenty of water and your boat doesn't end up high and dry at low tide. Now, I've got some transducers on my boat that I don't want rubbing on the sand, so I definitely don't want my boat up high and dry. But if your boat's sort of set up to leave it high and dry, you can camp on the beach and leave your boat there. Otherwise, what I used to do when I camped on the beach was to walk the boat out as the tide went out, and then as the tide came back in, I'd walk it back in. Of course, if the tide was at the wrong time and I was asleep, I had a long swim to go and get the boat. Now, if you're coming into Horseshoe Bay or just anchoring in Horseshoe Bay, be really careful to avoid the reef that I've got marked here. It gets very shallow in places and it's full of brain coral, so you don't want your boat landing down on that. The good thing is that the water's usually clear enough that as long as you're going slow, you can see the brain coral a long time before it becomes hazardous. Horseshoe Bay is a good destination if the wind is anywhere from the southwest around through the north to the northeast. You certainly don't want it coming into the bay from the south. I got caught in a storm in Horseshoe Bay about 30 years ago, and I can tell you that was one of the 2 times that I thought I might have lost a boat. I was in a 43 footer at the time, and the waves were coming 3 feet over the bow because the bow rail was 3 feet high and it was going under the waves. And that was making a run out of Horseshoe Bay, trying to head for some shelter down around Macleay Island. I heard later on from a shop that I called into that 6 boats went down in that storm. Weather reporting's a lot better now, but pay special attention to it if you're camping out in Horseshoe Bay and it looks like the weather might turn to the south. Get out of there and find somewhere better. This is an aerial shot of the western end of Peel. There's another little anchorage around there that if you get caught out and you need to shelter from wind that's coming from the northeast around to the east, you're probably even a bit more than that, probably from north-northeast around to east-southeast. You can get reasonable shelter from that. I wouldn't say it's a brilliant anchorage, there's no beach there or anything to speak of, but you can shelter from the wind there and get out of trouble if you need to get into somewhere fairly quickly. On the southeastern corner of the island there's the wreck of the platypus, which was sunk there to protect the stone jetty, which has mostly fallen down now. But if you take it real careful and sound your way in, keep an eye on the water because it's also really clear, you can see the bottom. Work your way in on either side of the wreck. You can get into a nice little beach there beside the jetty. It used to be that a couple of boats could get in there and park on the beach and camp there, but I don't see anyone camping there these days. I don't see anyone camping much on Peel these days, at least not since the fees were introduced for camping. Back when it was free, the beach used to be crowded with campers. But anyway, it's a nice little beach in there. You can get into that and enjoy a little bit of privacy. Just be careful getting in and out of it because there's a lot of rocks around the area. If you just watch the tide as you go in and out, you'll be fine. But this aerial shot is looking across Peel to the northern side and the Lazaret Gutter, which is probably one of the safest anchorages at Peel, although it's not very attractive from many other points. It's over near where the old leper colony was. I don't think you get off the boat there real well. I sort of vaguely remember 30-40 years ago getting off the boat there once to take the dog for a walk, and I wasn't real thrilled with it. Anyway, if you're looking for a place that's out of the wind, anything from the south, definitely go into the Lazaret if you're near there. Only thing about going into the Lazaret is it's a small anchorage, so if there's too many other boats there, you might be lucky to get a spot. Now this was going to be a video of an actual overnight trip, but it turned out not to be. We aborted the mission in the early afternoon of the first day. I will do another video that covers any other considerations for an overnight trip. In fact, I'll probably do several other videos covering various overnighters around the bay. But with Peel, you need to watch the wind. The forecast was good for 2 days of northeasterlies Peel, which is why I was going to overnight on the Friday and Saturday. But the wind turned and came around from the southeast early Saturday afternoon, and I thought it might have got a bit stronger than forecast as well. So we abandoned the idea of overnighting about 2 o'clock and headed back home. There's several other places we could have gone around the bay, gone over to Myora, gone around to the Lazaret, but for what we planned we wanted to have a day on the beach at Horseshoe Bay, so with that out of the question we just headed on home. And it's very important around the bay, particularly Horseshoe Bay, but there are other areas. If the wind changes, keep an eye on the weather. If it changes, abandon your plans, go somewhere else or go home if it looks bad. There's no sense putting yourself at risk. And that's it for this video. Really sorry it didn't get to be a full overnight trip, but if the weather gods smile on me, I might get a full overnighter in the next few weeks. Until then, if you'd like to see more of my videos, you can go to my YouTube channel, and if you'd like to catch the overnighter when it does come up, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification beside it. Until next time, good fishing.